Today for Meal Prep Monday, we're making orange chicken. Today's meal is going to be our version of takeout. We're making orange chicken and we're making the whole thing in this Instapot right here. Let's get to it. Okay, so there's some prep to this prep, but it's simple and we're gonna get through it together. First things first, we gotta peel some ginger. Fresh ginger, to be exact. So I love to make at-home versions of carry-out dishes because I know when I make it at home what's in it, and I can better keep track of what my macros are for that meal, which is a huge part of being able to maintain the weight that we want, is knowing what things we're putting in our body. Because when you get your food from somewhere else, you'll never be fully certain as to what goes in it. Some restaurants actually provide the calories to a meal or the macros, but most mom and pop Asian carry-out restaurants do not have such a thing. So we're gonna do an at-home style that is just as delicious and much more nutritious. And I did not mean to rhyme just then like a cheese ball, but it happened. So now that White Lotus has concluded, I really don't know what to do with my nightlife. I have started rewatching Yellow Jackets, which I love. I'd seen season 1 before, like years ago, and then I noticed that it was put on Netflix, and it had been a while since I'd seen season 1, so I rewatched it, loved it even better the second time around, and then I subscribed to Showtime or whatever platform it is you need to watch seasons 2 and 3. And so I have 7 days of my new trial with Showtime to finish seasons 2 and 3 before canceling that. Although there's some other shows on there that I want to watch, so might have to cancel a different stream. I don't know. I'm thinking that this will likely be enough ginger. What do you guys think? We'll see. Let's chop this up. So while we're here, since we're preparing a deliciously nutritious meal prep for the week, thought I would take this as an opportunity to discuss what other things you can be doing to care for your body. Just because there is one thing that I have observed across the board with my clients is that there seems to be this idea, almost subconscious in a way, where in order for a workout to be effective or for any processes towards a goal, specifically as it pertains to physical goals, that process should be arduous and torturous and painful, that you need to like really put yourself through it to like end up with an achievement after that process. And that often translates in the world of Pilates into people working too hard, like straining, taking the exercise from connection and control to a strain when it doesn't have to be. And in fact, the the less strain there is, the more effective the exercise is. And I can't speak to all modalities because I know that within every modality there's a different style and a different method for whatever that work is meant to help you achieve. But I know that in Pilates, the work is meant to help you become better body aware and more connected. And so when you're straining through it and you're grimacing and it's hard to breathe, that'd be my lunch prep. The purpose of Pilates exercises is to definitely challenge the connection that you feel on the inside, but also help you work through that challenge. Like, that is the purpose of the exercise, is to challenge that connection, but not to push past the like disconnect and push past and end up sending the work somewhere else completely where it doesn't belong, just for the sake of finishing the exercise, like finishing the set or whatever, you know? Like, there are some instances where pushing your limits is a good thing, and doing so, you know, gives you the results that you're after. But sometimes that mentality, that style, that mode of execution, there is a time and a place for it, and it's really not meant for your Pilates practice. And that's not to say that Pilates shouldn't be challenging. It should be, but it's challenging because you're trying to stay connected and you're trying to keep your intention, not because you're throwing your body around in hopes of keeping yourself intact. And now, it's one thing to hear somebody say this and to be like, yeah, that makes sense. But in all of my years of teaching, every single one of my clients has had to be reeled in a little bit from from the intensity they think they need to employ to an exercise, to where I actually want them to be, to the level of intensity that I want them to have. And this is always an interesting moment for people because it usually takes a few sessions and a constant practice to get people to go from seeking the sensation of strain to seeking the sensation of engagement, because there is a difference. And being able to intentionally engage and access that sensation with your brain effectively communicating to your muscles to turn on is a very satisfying thing when you can do it intentionally. It makes you feel more in tune to your body, and in a way that goes beyond exercise. It's a way to get in tune with yourself. Because when you have control over your body, you just feel better about it. You're more proud of it. You're more proud of the things that it can do. And you're more grateful for those things. And that translates into how you carry yourself, which also translates into how well you're moving. And so there's like a ripple effect of what practicing with intention can do for you. Okay, we need a whole cup of orange juice. If you just want to buy orange juice, totally fine. I was apparently feeling ambitious earlier when I was at the grocery store, and so I'm going to squeeze some of these to make the juice. So in session, a lot of the time, I will have to remind people that the exercises are meant to be used as a tool to help you better feel the contraction of the target muscle. You aren't supposed to sloppily throw yourself around in order to just finish the exercise, which is a lot of what I see happening, especially amongst people who say that they can't feel an exercise. So before we can chop the chicken, we need to dry it off a little bit. So take it out of the packaging and just pat it dry with some paper towel, like so. So yeah, I mean, just the way that food and eating well shouldn't be complicated or challenging. Same thing with your workouts and with your Pilates practice. I mean, Pilates, honestly, like if we get into the nitty gritty of it, can be very complicated, but that's, in my opinion, one of the ways that makes it good, because you'll never master it. There's always some other way to make it more challenging, or like one day you might hit an exercise or a pose that you couldn't do, and then the next day you won't be able to do it again. So like, I don't know, the varying ways to do all of the exercises and the varying levels to do them all in, like beginner, intermediate, and advanced, like that just, to me, keeps the practice, even though all of the exercises, like I know all of them, it still keeps the practice exciting, because there's always either a different apparatus or way to do something that challenges you in a way that exercise never did before. So I think that's fun. But yeah, these are all dried off, so now we're gonna chop them up into little chunks. A lot of people also confuse Pilates with yoga, because a lot of times studios that offer yoga will also offer Pilates and vice versa, but the two are actually completely different. It just so happens that you can do both of them on a mat. But aside from that, they are their own thing. Pilates is a little more about using the body as a form of meditation, and not a form of meditation to move the body. You know what I mean? Like, we go into the body to get into the brain, and not the other way around, which I really enjoy, because I like getting excited about advancing my performance. With all of the variations of things and the different pieces that you can get on, and the different ways that you can add in more challenge or more resistance, my people get excited about the performance aspect of it too. And honestly, I think that's what keeps them coming back and staying consistent, is because they are excited about moving to the next thing. Okay, chicken is all chopped up. So next we're going to turn the saute setting on. 10 minutes is probably good. We don't need it on high temperature. I'm just going to put that on medium and hit start. You know, in your Instapot, when you set it to whatever setting you want on the preheating stage, it'll show you on the screen that it's just like warming up. And then cooking will be when it starts the timer. So good to go there. Okay, so as this is heating up, I'm just going to get a couple more things ready. We are going to add some tomato sauce into the sauce for this orange chicken because it'll help to make it a little less sweet and a little bit more savory. You don't have to add tomato sauce, but doing so will just make the flavor a little more rich and a little less tangy. All right, so I'm going to start by putting some sesame oil right in here for the saute and just throw some chicken on in there. You want to be stirring the chicken basically the entire time that it's in there because you don't want it to get stuck to the pan. Now we're not bringing it to fully cooked. And my chicken is sticking to the pan, so just trying to scrape that off as I stir this. So maybe medium heat is too high for this. Maybe you could just handle it on a low. I don't know. Just browning it out. So my phone's about to die, so I turned it off. I didn't turn it off. I just like stopped recording. And then I was sitting here getting some orange zest for this orange, and I'm using this cheese grater to get this zest, and I'm like, how am I not recording this because this is ridiculous and hilarious. So yeah, so you need some orange zest for this recipe. Obviously a zester would be more ideal than this, but it's getting the job done. I did have a zester, but I also moved more recently and I've not been able to find things in my own kitchen. Like the safari hunts that I have to take myself on just aren't worth it sometimes, so here we are. But yeah, just zesting this orange peel, trying not to shave off my thumb. Definitely getting juice everywhere. We're just using me for inspiration, guys, okay? Don't set the bar too high. Okay. So now we're gonna add all of the components of the sauce into where the chicken was being sauteed. I've turned it off since then, so it's not still cooking. So yeah, putting in that chopped ginger, which, you know me, I don't measure things, so that's what looks good. I want this to be really saucy, so I'm going with a full cup of fresh squeezed orange juice. I also want it to be a little tangy sweet, so for some tang, we're putting in some tomato sauce. Need some brown sugar. And some white sugar, granulated sugar to be exact. You can also use like sweetener substitutes if you wanted to make this a little more low cal. I'm gonna do some rice vinegar. And some garlic, which you can also use fresh garlic if you prefer. I just like being able to toss mine in there. And of course that lemon zest, or orange zest. Gonna stir some soy sauce in there. And some sriracha. So now that everything's mixed in there, we're gonna put the lid on. Make sure that it's locked and loaded, sealed nice and tight. You're gonna hit pressure cook. Depending on what model you have, yours might say manual, the button. So either the pressure cook or the manual button, you'll hit that. We're gonna go for 5 minutes on high pressure and then hit start. And let this baby work its magic. Let that cook for 5 minutes on high and then slowly release the pressure for 10 minutes. Then mix in some cornstarch and water, stir that all up, and there you have your orange chicken. Then plate that up with a side of your choice. You can also do some white rice. I just didn't have any in the fridge. I was feeling kind of lazy. Sprinkle that with some green onions on top and you're good to go.